The first thing Clara Bennett heard was laughter. Not polite laughter, not the soft, expensive kind that floated through luxury restaurants over champagne and candlelight. This laughter was sharp, cruel, meant to cut. She stood beside a white-clothed table in the center of Bella Rosa, one of Manhattan's most exclusive restaurants. With one hand pressed protectively over the small curve of her stomach and the other clutching the leather folder her ex had thrown at her. Inside the folder was money, $10,000 in cash. An insult dressed as generosity. Evan Caldwell leaned back in his chair like a king, enjoying his own execution order. He wore a navy designer suit, a silver watch, and the same beautiful, empty smile Clara had once mistaken for love. Around them, wealthy guests slowed their forks. A woman in pearls whispered behind her wineglass. A businessman at the next table glanced at Clara's stomach, then quickly looked away, as if pregnancy were contagious when it belonged to a woman without power. Evan lifted his champagne flute. "Come on, Clara," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Don't act dramatic. You wanted money. I gave you money." Her throat tightened. "I never asked you for money," she said. "No," Evan smiled wider. "Then why show up here with that tragic little face and a baby you expect me to feel guilty about?" The restaurant fell into a thicker silence. Clara could feel every eye on her, the host stand behind her, the marble floor under her worn black flats, the soft classical music that suddenly felt cruel because it kept playing, as if her humiliation were part of the atmosphere. She had not come to Bella Rosa to beg. She worked there 3 nights a week as a hostess because the tips helped pay for prenatal appointments her insurance barely covered. Evan had known her schedule. He had booked the central table on purpose. He had arrived with 2 friends, a blonde woman in a red dress, and a hunger to ruin what little dignity Clara had left. She had loved him once. That was the part she hated most. Not that he left when she told him she was pregnant. Not that he stopped answering calls. Not that his lawyer sent a letter accusing her of attempting financial blackmail. It was that once, before he became this man in front of her. She had believed him when he touched her face and promised she would never be alone. Evan stood slowly. He picked up the folder and shoved it against her chest. "Take it," he said, "and tell whoever you need to tell that baby has no father." Something inside Clara went still. Terrible. Frozen stillness. Her fingers tightened over the folder. She wanted to slap him. She wanted to scream. She wanted to turn and walk out without one tear, without giving him the satisfaction of seeing her break. But the baby moved. A tiny flutter under her palm, and that nearly destroyed her. Evan saw her eyes shine and smirked. "There it is," he said softly, then louder. For the room, the performance, the blonde woman beside him covered her mouth, pretending not to laugh. Clara turned toward the exit. She only made it 1 step. Evan caught her wrist. Not violently enough for the guest to gasp. Just firmly enough to remind her that he knew exactly how much pressure to use without leaving a mark. "Don't walk away from me while I'm talking to you," he said. Clara looked down at his hand on her skin. "Let go." Evan leaned close. His cologne was expensive and sickeningly familiar. "You should be grateful I'm giving you anything," he whispered. Then the front doors opened. The entire restaurant changed. Not because of noise, because of silence. It rolled through Bella Rosa like a blackout. The maitre d' stepped back. A waiter froze with a bottle of wine in his hand. 2 men near the bar straightened as if someone had pointed a gun at their spines. Clara turned. Roman Valenti stood at the entrance in a black overcoat, black suit, an expression so calm it made the room feel suddenly unsafe. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and devastatingly still. Not handsome in a warm way. Handsome like a locked door in a burning house. Dark hair, dark eyes, a face carved out of restraint and danger. 3 men in black suits entered behind him. No one announced him. No one needed to. Clara had heard the name before. Everyone in Manhattan had. Roman Valenti, owner of hotels, casinos, shipping companies, and half the secrets buried along the East Coast. A man photographed beside senators and feared by men who never feared the police. People said he controlled the city without raising his voice. And now he was looking directly at Evan's hand on Clara's wrist. "Release her," Roman said. 2 words. No anger. No volomi. Evan let go so fast Clara almost stumbled. Roman crossed the restaurant. Every step sounded quiet and final. Ivan's face lost color. "Mr. Valenti," he said, trying to smile. "This is a private matter." Roman stopped beside Clara. For one terrifying second. He looked at her stomach. Then at her face. Clara forgot to breathe. There was recognition in his eyes. Not surprise. Recognition. As if he had been expecting to find her exactly like this. Roman removed his black coat. The movement was slow, controlled, almost intimate. Before Clara could react, he placed it over her shoulders. The coat was heavy, warm, and smelled faintly of cedar, rain, and smoke. It swallowed her thin black work dress, covered the curve of her body, shielded her from the eyes still fixed on her like knives. Roman's hand hovered near her shoulder, almost touching, then stopped. That restraint shook her more than if he had touched her. Evan laughed once, but it came out wrong. "What is this?" he asked. Some kind of joke. Roman turned his head. "No." Evan's jaw clenched. "You don't even know her." Roman's eyes sharpened. "I know enough." Clara looked up at him, confused, afraid, and suddenly too aware of every inch of space between them. Roman faced the room. "The child already has my name." No one moved. Even the music seemed to disappear. Even stared at him. The blonde woman lowered her glass. Clara felt the words pass through her like lightning. "The child already has my name. Not will have. Not could have. Already." Roman reached for the folder in Clara's hand. She did not give it to him. He looked down at her. And something almost like approval flickered across his face. So he did not take it from her. Instead, he turned to Evan. "You offered a pregnant woman cash in public and called it mercy," Roman said. "That was your first mistake." Evan swallowed. Roman's voice lowered. "Touching what belongs under my protection was your second." Clara stiffened at the word belongs. Roman noticed. His gaze returned to her. "Quieter now. Walk with me." Clara Bennett. The sound of her full name on his lips made her blood run cold. "You know my name," she whispered. "I know who put you in danger." Before she could ask what he meant, a flash went off near the bar. Someone had taken a picture. Roman did not even look. One of his men moved. The phone disappeared. Evan stepped forward, desperate enough to forget fear. "She's lying to you," he snapped. "Whatever she told you, she's lying." "That baby isn't." Roman looked at him. Evan stopped. The silence that followed was more humiliating than a shout. Roman offered Clara his hand. Not demanding, not pleading, just waiting. Clara looked at his hand. Strong, scarred along the knuckles. A signet ring on his little finger. Black stone set in gold. A hand that could destroy a man. A hand that had just covered her shame in front of an entire room. She did not take it. Instead, she lifted her chin and walked past him on her own. For the first time that night, Roman Valenti almost smiled. Outside, Manhattan glittered cold and bright under the winter night. Black SUVs lined the curb like a funeral procession. Clara stopped beneath the restaurant awning, Romanesque coat wrapped around her, the folder of cash still in her hand. Her knees wanted to shake, but she refused to let them. Roman came out behind her. "Get in the car," he said. "No." His bodyguards looked at her as if no one had used that word to him in years. Roman only studied her. "Evan Caldwell is not just a coward," he said. "He is a liability. Tonight he made you visible." "I was already visible," Clara said. "He made sure of that. You do not understand what kind of attention he brought to you." "Then explain it." A car door opened. Roman gestured toward it. In the vehicle, Clara let out a humorless laugh. "You just told a restaurant full of people, 'My baby has your name.' You know my full name. You came in at exactly the right second. And now you expect me to get into your car because you say, 'I am in danger'?" Roman's eyes held hers. "Yes." "Do women usually obey when you say things like that?" "No." That answer startled her. He stepped closer, stopping just outside the edge of impropriety. "They obey when they realize I am the safer danger." The city noise faded around them. Clara hated that she believed him. She hated more that Evan had made the world feel unsafe enough for Roman Valenti to seem like shelter. "What do you want from me?" she asked. Roman looked back toward Bellarosa, where Evan was still visible through the glass, furious and pale. "The truth," he said. Then he looked at her stomach. "And to keep his enemies from using you to get to me." Clara went cold. His enemies. Roman opened the SUV door wider. "Your ex sold your name to the Morelli family 2 nights ago." The folder slipped from Clara's hand. Cash scattered across the sidewalk like fallen leaves. Roman did not look at the money. Neither did Clara. Inside the SUV, the leather seats were warm, the windows dark, the city outside turning into streaks of gold. Clara sat as far from Roman as possible, though his coat still covered her shoulders like a claim she had not agreed to. He sat beside her, one arm resting along the door. His body, too, still for comfort. "What is the Morelli family?" she asked, though she already knew the answer in the hollow part of her stomach. "A rival organization," Roman said. "Old money, new cruelty, and Evan is involved with them. Evan owes them." "For what?" Roman looked at her. "Everything." Clara pressed a hand to her stomach. The baby moved again, faintly. Romanes's gaze dropped for half a second. His expression did not soften. But something in the air changed. "You were scaring me," Clara said. "I know. You don't sound sorry." "I'm not sorry you were scared. Fear keeps people alive." She turned toward him sharply. "I've been afraid for months. It didn't protect me. It just made me tired." For the first time, Roman looked away. The city lights slid over his face. "Then be angry instead," he said. "Anger has better instincts." Clara stared at him. There was something impossible about him. Cruelty would have been easier. A villain would have been easier. But Roman's coldness was not empty. It was controlled around something heavier. "Why did you say the child had your name?" she asked. "Because no one touches a Valenti. My baby is not a Valenti. Tonight, to every enemy listening, it is. You used my child as a shield. I used my name as one." The answer landed hard. Clara wanted to reject it. She wanted to throw his coat back in his face and demand to be taken home. But home was a one-bedroom apartment with a broken lock, unpaid bills on the kitchen counter, and Evan's lawyer leaving messages that made her hands shake. Roman reached into his jacket and removed a black folder. He placed it between them. Clara did not open it. "What is that?" "Proof." "Of what?" "That Evan Caldwell transferred your medical clinic information, your address, and your work schedule to Salvatore Morelli." Her heartbeat stumbled. My medical clinic, Roman's jaw tightened. Yes. Clara's voice dropped. How do you have this? I have people who watch men like Evan. But not me. Roman's silence was too long. Clara's stomach turned. You watched me? No. His voice was immediate. I protected you after you became connected to me. I don't even know you. You do. The SUV slowed at a red light. Roman turned his hand palm up on his knee. There, across the inside of his wrist, was a healing cut. Clara stared at it. A memory returned in pieces. A dark alley behind a prenatal clinic. Rain hissing against pavement. A man in a black suit stumbling against a brick wall. Blood soaking through his white shirt. Clara had been leaving her appointment late because the clinic's billing system went down. She had heard the crash behind the building, seen two shadows running, and found him there. She had not recognized him then. His face had been half hidden in rain and pain. He had told her to leave. She had not. She had pressed her scarf against his wound with trembling hands and called 911. But he grabbed her phone and whispered, "No police." She should have run. Instead, she had said, "Then tell me who to call before you bleed out on my shoes." He had looked at her like no one had spoken to him that way before. A black car arrived 3 minutes later. Men took him. One of them gave Clara back her ruined scarf in a plastic bag. Another told her to forget what she had seen. She had tried. But that night, she found a black signet ring in her coat pocket. It must have fallen there when she was pressing the scarf to his side. The next morning, the ring was gone from her apartment. No door broken, no window open, just gone. Clara slowly looked at Roman's hand. The same ring sat on his finger. "It was you," she whispered. Roman watched her carefully. "Yes. You broke into my apartment. I had someone retrieve. What would have gotten you killed if the wrong person found it? You had someone break into my apartment." His expression did not change. "Yes." Clara laughed once. Breathless and furious. "That's supposed to make me feel better." "No." "Good. Because it doesn't. I also replaced your lock." She blinked. "What?" And the window latch. "Your landlord used cheap hardware." For one insane second, Clara almost smiled. Then she remembered she was sitting beside a Mafia boss who had secretly altered her apartment security after she saved his life in an alley. "You had no right," she said. "I know." Then why Roman looked out the window again. "Because the men who tried to kill me saw your face." The anger inside her faltered. Outside, Manhattan blurred past in cold silver light. Roman continued, "I kept distance because proximity to me is dangerous. Then Evans sold your information to Morelli, and distance became useless." Clara swallowed. "So that scene in the restaurant, I came to stop him before he pushed you into their hands. He was humiliating me. He was marking you as disposable." Her fingers curled around the edge of his coat. "Why would Morelli care about me?" Roman's eyes darkened. "Because your father left something behind before he died." The car seemed to lose air. Clara's father had died 6 years ago in a warehouse fire by the docks. A bookkeeping accident, the papers had said, and tragedy. A case closed before grief even knew how to stand. "My father was an accountant," she said. Roman nodded once. "For my family," the world tilted. Clara grabbed the door handle. Roman's hand moved, not touching her, but blocking the impulse. "Breathe," he said. "Don't tell me to breathe. Then don't faint in my car." She glared at him. That time, he almost smiled. Almost. Then the SUV turned into an underground garage beneath a hotel Clara had seen only in magazines. The Valenti Grand, Romanesque empire in black, glass, and gold light. As the car stopped, Clara realized something with a sickening clarity. Her humiliation at the restaurant had not been the beginning. It had been the moment all the hidden pieces finally came into the light. Roman took her to the penthouse because, according to him, safe houses were too predictable when enemies expected fear to hide in small places. The penthouse overlooked the city from 60 stories up. Floor-to-ceiling windows, dark marble floors, low golden lamps, a grand piano no one played. It looked less like a home than a place power came to sleep without dreaming. Clara stood in the living room, still wearing Romanesque coat. "I'm not staying here," she said. Roman handed his gloves to one of his men. "Yes, you are." "No, I'm not." His bodyguards exchanged glances. Roman looked at them. "Leave." They did. The silence after the doors closed was huge. Clara removed his coat and placed it carefully over the back of a chair. "I am not your prisoner," she said. "No. Then I can leave." "Yes." She stared at him. Roman walked to a side table and poured water into a glass. "Not whiskey. Water." He brought it to her. "But if you leave, Morelli will find you before sunrise." Clara did not take the glass. "I don't know what my father has to do with this. I don't know what Evan did. I don't know why you think you can drag me into your world and call it protection." Roman held the glass there anyway. "Your father discovered that the Morellis and the Caldwells were laundering money through charity foundations and waterfront development contracts. He made a copy of the ledger before they killed him." Clara felt the room move. "Killed him. Not died. Killed." She reached for the glass because suddenly her hands were shaking too badly to hide. Roman watched her drink. "He hid the ledger," Roman said. "No one found it." "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because Evan believes you have it." "I don't too. He thinks you don't know you have it." Clara thought of her father's old things. A box in her closet. A few books. His watch. A picture frame. A silver locket that had belonged to her mother. Her pulse changed. Roman saw it. What he asked? Nothing. Clara. The way he said her name was dangerous. Not loud. Not impatient. Dangerous because it sounded like he had already decided her life mattered. She lifted her chin. "You don't get to use that voice on me." "What voice?" "The one that makes people confess things." His eyes stayed on hers. "Does it work?" "No." A pause. Then she said, "Maybe." Roman stepped back, giving her space like he understood the line before she drew it. That unsettled her more than arrogance would have. Clara set down the water glass. "If my father was involved with your family, then why didn't you protect him?" The question struck something. She saw it in the slightest tightening around Roman's mouth. "I was 24, he said, "not yet head of the family. My father believed your father was stealing from us. He refused to listen when I said the numbers didn't make sense. By the time I proved it, he stopped. The city burned behind him. By then, my father was dead too." Roman said, "And yours was gone." Clara searched his face for manipulation. She found control. Regret buried so deep it had turned to stone. "Why should I believe you?" she asked. "You shouldn't." The honesty startled her. Roman reached into his pocket and removed a phone. "My driver will take you anywhere you want to go. I will place 2 men near you. Whether you approve or not. You will not see them unless there is danger." "That sounds like being followed." "It is. You re unbelievable. I've been called worse." Clara turned toward the windows. Below, Manhattan looked beautiful because distance hid all the teeth. She thought of her apartment, Evan's hand around her wrist, the way guests had watched her cry like she was part of the evening's entertainment. Then she thought of her baby. "No father," Evan had said. The words still hurt. Not because Clara wanted Evan back, because a child should never begin life as someone's punchline. She looked back at Roman. "If I stay, there are rules." His brows lifted slightly. The Mafia boss of Manhattan, amused by a pregnant hostess giving him conditions in his own penthouse. Say them. I keep my phone. I call my doctor. I decide what happens with my baby. You don't touch me unless I say you can. You don't call me yours. And you tell me the truth? Even if it makes you look like a monster. Roman's gaze lowered briefly to her stomach, then returned to her face. Agreed. That easily, no. He moved toward the door. Nothing about you appears easy. He left before she could answer. Clara stood alone in the penthouse, surrounded by luxury, danger, and the lingering warmth of his coat. And for the first time in months, she did not feel abandoned. That frightened her most of all. The next morning, Clara woke to sunlight spilling across silk sheets and a woman in a gray suit knocking politely at the bedroom door. I'm Mara, the woman said. Mr. Valenti asked me to bring breakfast and prenatal vitamins. Clara sat up quickly. He asked you? Mara entered with a tray. He ordered. But he tries not to sound like that around pregnant women. Clara blinked. Mara's face remained perfectly serious. On the tray were toast, berries, eggs, and a small note written in black ink. Your clinic appointment has been moved to noon. Same doctor. Different entrance. Clara stared at the note longer than she wanted to. He moves fast, she said. Mara placed the tray down. He has to. By noon. Clara understood why. The video from Bella Rosa had spread everywhere. Not the entire confrontation, just the most explosive part. Evan grabbing her wrist. Roman draping his coat over her shoulders. Roman saying, the child already has my name. The internet had turned her into a scandal before she finished breakfast. Pregnant mystery woman claimed by Roman Valenti. Mafia boss humiliates Manhattan heir in luxury restaurant. Who is Clara Bennett? She stared at the headlines on her phone until the words blurred. Roman entered the living room without knocking. Dressed in black again. Expression unreadable. Dawn read comments. He said. Clara looked up. That's your advice. It's practical. My face is everywhere. Yes. My baby is everywhere. His jaw tightened. No. Your baby is protected. You keep using that word like it fixes everything. It fixes more than panic does. She stood, anger rising. You made a public claim over my life, and now strangers think I'm your mistress. Your secret lover. Or some gold digger who trapped you. Roman's eyes cooled. Anyone who uses that word about you will regret it. That is not the point. It is part of the point. No, the point is, I had a life before you walked into that restaurant. He looked around the penthouse, then back at her. You had a man selling your address, a rival family looking for your father's ledger, and an ex preparing to declare you unstable in court. Clara went still. What court? Roman held out a document. She took it. Her hands tightened as she read. Evan had filed a sealed petition questioning her mental fitness, alleging that Clara was attempting extortion, fabricating paternity, and behaving unpredictably during pregnancy. Her vision darkened at the edges. He was going to take the baby from me, she whispered, or scare you into disappearing before the birth. Clara sank onto the sofa. Roman crouched in front of her. The movement shocked her. Men like him did not lower themselves, but he did. Slowly, carefully, still not touching. Look at me, he said. She did. His eyes were dark enough to hide violence. He will not take your child. Clara's laugh broke in the middle. You can promise that. Roman's voice dropped. I can. Something passed between them, fierce and intimate, before either of them had earned the right to feel it. His hand lifted, for one heartbeat. She thought he might touch her cheek. Instead, he stopped inches away and closed his fingers into a fist. Clara saw the restraint, felt it like a touch anyway. Mara appeared at the doorway. "Cars are ready." Roman rose. Clara stood too. Slower this time. "Where are we going?" "Your clinic." "With bodyguards?" "Yes." "With cameras outside?" "Probably." Clara exhaled. "I hate this." "I know." Roman handed her a pair of sunglasses. The gesture was absurdly normal. Clara took them. At the private clinic entrance, 3 black SUVs formed a wall between Clara and the street. Cameras flashed from across the road. Roman stepped out first, scanning the sidewalks. His men moved like shadows with earpieces. Clara hated how dramatic it looked. She hated more how safe it felt. Roman opened her door himself. "Stay close," he said. "I'm pregnant." "Not fragile." "I know the difference." The answer was so immediate, she looked at him. He offered his arm. She ignored it and stepped down on her own. A camera flash exploded. Someone shouted, "Clara, is Roman the father?" Roman's entire body changed. Not visibly to the crowd. Maybe, but Clara felt it. The air sharpened. She placed a hand on his sleeve before he could turn. "Dawn," she said quietly. He looked down at her hand, then at her face. For a moment, the dangerous man in him waited for her permission to behave. Then he nodded once. They walked into the clinic together. The appointment should have been ordinary. Blood pressure. Question. A soft-spoken doctor. The cold gel of the ultrasound wand. The grainy black and white image on the monitor. But nothing felt ordinary with Roman Valenti standing near the door like a war disguised as a man. Clara told herself she did not care that he was there. Then the heartbeat filled the room. Fast. Tiny. Unmistakable. Clara's breath caught. She looked at the monitor and forgot the scandal. The fear. The headlines. The men waiting outside. Her baby was there. Alive. Real. Not Evan's insult. Not Roman's claim. Hers. Tears slipped down her temples before she could stop them. The doctor smiled. Strong heartbeat. Clara nodded. Unable to speak. She glanced toward Roman without meaning to. He had not moved. But his face had changed. Not softened. Broken open in one silent place. His eyes were fixed on the monitor. And for the first time since she met him, Clara saw fear. Not fear of bullets. Not fear of enemies. Fear of wanting something innocent near him. When the doctor left to print the image, Roman approached slowly. Clara wiped her eyes. Don't say anything dramatic, she warned. I wasn't going to. Good. A pause. Then Roman said, It sounds like a bird trapped in a cathedral. Clara looked at him. The line was so strange, so unexpectedly beautiful, that she almost cried again. He looked embarrassed by his own honesty and turned away. That was when the glass outside the clinic room shattered. Roman moved before Clara understood the sound. His body covered hers as the wall behind them cracked from gunfire. The ultrasound photo fluttered to the floor. Clara screamed. Roman pulled her down behind the exam table, one arm around her shoulders, the other already holding a gun she had not seen him draw. Stay under me, he said. The tenderness in his command terrified her more than the bullets. Outside, men shouted. Glass broke. The clinic alarm wailed. Roman's body was heavy over hers, shielding her completely. Clara's cheek pressed against his chest. She could feel his heartbeat. Steady. Too steady. How are you calm? She whispered. His mouth was near her hair. I'm not. A bullet struck the doorframe. Roman fired once. The sound cracked through the room. Clara closed her eyes, one hand over her stomach, the other gripping his shirt. Roman. she whispered. He looked down at her. There was blood on his collarbone. Not much. A shallow cut from glass. But seeing it made something wild rise in her. Are you hurt? His eyes flickered. You re-asking me that now? Yes. For one breath. The violence outside disappeared. Then his men stormed the hallway. Clear! Someone shouted. Roman did not move off Clara immediately. He stayed there, covering her, breathing controlled but rough. Only when she said his name again did he shift back. His hand hovered near her stomach. Did anything hit you? No. The baby, I think we were okay. His jaw clenched so hard it looked painful. The doctor rushed in, pale but alive. Roman allowed her near only after Mara snapped. Move. Roman. Before I sedate you myself. Clara almost laughed from shock. 15 minutes later, she was being rushed through a back corridor in Roman's arms. I can walk, she protested. No. Roman. No. His shirt was torn. Blood streaked one side of his neck from the glass cut. His face was calm, but his arms held her like the world had tried to steal something from him and failed only by seconds. Outside the emergency exit, black SUVs waited. As he carried her into the vehicle, paparazzi cameras caught the moment. By nightfall, the image was everywhere. Roman Valenti carrying pregnant Clara Bennett out of a shot-up clinic. His white shirt stained, his face murderous, her hands clutching his shoulders. The city called it scandal. Clara knew better. It was war. Roman took her not to the penthouse, but to a house north of the city surrounded by iron gates, winter trees, and silence. The Valenti estate looked like something built by a man who did not trust heaven to keep anyone safe. Stone walls, tall windows, security lights hidden in the garden, a driveway long enough to make escape feel theoretical. Clara sat in the library while a doctor checked her again. The baby's heartbeat remained strong. Roman stood outside the glass doors, speaking to men in low voices. She watched him through the reflection. He had not changed his bloody shirt, a ridiculous detail to notice, an impossible one to stop noticing. When the doctor left, Clara found Roman in the hallway. You need stitches, she said. He glanced at her. I've had worse. Congratulations. Sit down. His brows rose. Clara pointed to a chair. I'm serious. For a second, none of his men breathed. Then Roman Valenti sat. Mara brought a medical kit. Clara cleaned the cut along his collarbone with hands that only shook once. Roman watched her face. Your pulse is still fast, he said. So is yours. No. She pressed antiseptic a little harder. His jaw flexed. Now it is. A fragile silence opened between them. Clara focused on the wound. You could have died today. So could you? That isn't an answer. It is the only one that matters. She looked up. He was too close. Sitting. He was nearly eye level with her stomach. His gaze dropped there, and the air changed again. Roman. His eyes returned to hers. What? You can look at my child like you already grieving them? A muscle worked in his cheek. I don't know how else to look at something I cannot control. Her chest tightened. That's honest. You asked for truth. Yes. She taped gauze over his cut. So tell me the truth now. Did Morelli attack the clinic because of me or because of you? Roman was silent. Clara stepped back. That's what I thought. Clara, no. Truth. Remember, he rose slowly. Both. She turned away. Anger and fear twisting together. Roman continued. Morelli wants the ledger. Evan thinks your father hid it in something you inherited. The attack was meant to scare you out of hiding and force me to move openly. And you walked right into it. I walked between you and it. She faced him. You keep saying that like it makes the danger romantic. His eyes hardened. Nothing about bullets near you is romantic. Then stop acting like your protection is enough. What do you want me to do? Let me fight. The words surprised both of them. Clara placed both hands on her stomach, grounding herself. I am tired of powerful men making decisions over my life. Evan decided I was disposable. Morelli decided I was leverage. You decided I was protected. Everyone keeps deciding what I am. Roman stared at her. Then decide, he said. She blinked. What? Decide what you want to be. It should have been a challenge. It felt like a door opening. Clara breathed in. I want to find what my father left. I want Evan exposed in public. Legally. So he can never touch my child. I want Morelli stopped. And I want you to stop talking about me like I'm a territory you're defending. Roman stepped closer. The space between them tightened. And what do you want from me? The question was too intimate. Clara should have said nothing. Instead, her voice lowered. I don't know yet. His eyes moved over her face. Controlled and burning. That is the most dangerous answer you could have given me. She did not move away. He almost touched her again. Almost. His fingers lifted toward the edge of her hair, where a strand had fallen across her cheek. Then he stopped himself. Clara felt the absence like heat. Why do you keep doing that? She whispered. His voice was rougher than before. Because if I touch you before you trust me, I become no better than every man who took choice from you. Her heart hurt. Roman's phone rang. The moment shattered. Roman stepped back and answered. His expression changed within seconds. What Clara asked. He ended the call. Evan is at your apartment. They arrived too late to stop the damage. Clara's apartment door hung open. Her books were ripped apart. Drawers emptied. Baby clothes thrown across the floor. Her father's old box overturned in the bedroom. Clara stood in the middle of the destruction and felt something inside her go dangerously quiet. Roman's men searched the rooms. He was looking for the ledger. Roman said. Clara knelt beside the ruined baby clothes. A tiny yellow onesie lay trampled near the bed. She picked it up. Her face did not crumple. That would have been easier. Instead, she folded it slowly. Roman watched her, and fury moved through him like a storm behind glass. Tell me where Evan is, she said. No. She looked at him. No, you are not going near him angry. You do. I am professionally angry. Despite everything, a broken laugh escaped her. Roman's mouth softened for half a second. Then Clara noticed the silver locket on the floor. Her mother's locket. The chain was broken. She reached for it. But Roman moved first. Not taking it. Just kneeling beside her as if the floor itself had become sacred because she was on it. Clara opened the locket. Inside was the faded photo she knew by heart, her mother smiling. Her father's hand on her shoulder. But behind the photo, the backing had loosened. Clara frowned. She pulled it free. A tiny black data chip fell into her palm. Neither of them spoke. The city noise outside seemed to vanish. Roman's voice was very quiet. Your father hid it with the person he trusted most. Clara closed her fist around the chip. My mother. Roman nodded. Clara's eyes filled. All those years, she had worn the truth around her neck without knowing. Her father had not abandoned justice. He had left it for her. Then Roman's phone buzzed. A video message appeared from an unknown number. Clara watched Evan's face fill the screen. He stood somewhere dark, smiling too hard. Clara. Sweetheart, he said. I know you found it. Bring it to the old St. Agnes Church by midnight. Come alone. Or I send the court everything I have on your new protector. The camera shifted. A man sat tied to a chair, bleeding from the mouth. Clara gasped. Mister. Duval, her landlord. The old man who fixed her sink for free and brought soup when morning sickness left her weak. Evan's voice continued. And before Roman tells you not to care, remember, this poor man only got involved because you lived in his building. The video ended. Clara's hands shook around the locket. Roman took the phone gently from her. Absolutely not. Clara turned to him. He'll kill him. Evan does not get you. You don't get to decide. Roman's face hardened. If you go there, Morelli will take you. Then we don't let him. Roman stepped close, all restraint cracking at the edges. You think I am afraid of a church full of Morelli men? I am afraid of one bullet fired by a coward who does not know your worth. The words hit her harder than a confession. Clara stared at him. Roman looked almost angry at himself for saying it. Then he turned away. I will get Duval. No. He stopped. Clara wiped her tears with the back of her hand. We will get him, and we will end this with evidence. Not just blood. Roman looked back slowly. You are asking me to walk into a trap with you. Yes. Pregnant? Yes. Carrying the only evidence that can collapse Morelli's political protection? Yes. His eyes burned. You terrify me. Clara Bennett. She stepped closer. Good. Now you know how everyone else feels around you. This time, Roman did smile. It was brief, beautiful, and dangerous enough to ruin her. St. Agnes had been abandoned for 12 years. Its stained glass windows were cracked. Its stone steps were covered in dead leaves. Moonlight fell through holes in the ceiling, turning the aisle silver and cold. Clara entered wearing Roman's black coat again. Not because he put it on her, because she chose it. Underneath, hidden beneath her dress, Mara had strapped a recording device against her side. The data chip in Clara's locket was fake. The real one was already being copied by Roman's attorney, an ex-federal prosecutor who looked at Roman like he was a migraine in human form. Roman waited outside with his men. That had been Clara's condition. Hers to enter. His to strike only when needed. Every step down the aisle echoed. Evan stood near the altar with a gun in one hand and Mr. Duval kneeling beside him. Salvatore Morelli emerged from the shadows behind him, silver-haired and smiling like a grandfather carved from poison. Clara Bennett, Morelli said. Your father's eyes. Clara kept her hand over her stomach. Let him go. Evan laughed. Even here, in a dead church. He found a way to sound small. You always were dramatic. Clara looked at him. No, I was loyal. You mistook that for weakness. His smile twitched. Morelli stepped forward. The chip. Clara touched the locket. First, Mr. Duval walks out. Evan raised the gun. You don't bargain here. Clara's fear rose. But beneath it was something Roman had taught her without meaning to. Stillness. She looked Evan directly in the eye. You denied your child in a restaurant because you were afraid of losing money. You filed court papers because you were afraid of responsibility. You sold my address because you were afraid of Morelli. And now you're holding a gun because without one, no one listens to you. Evan's face twisted. Shut up. Morelli chuckled. She has teeth. She has nothing. Evan snapped. She has no family. No husband. No power. The church doors opened. Wind rushed in. Roman Valenti walked through with bloodless calm. Black suit, black gloves, and murder in his eyes. She has me. Men moved in the shadows. Guns lifted. For one suspended second. The entire church balanced on a breath. Evan grabbed Clara, pulling her back against him. Gun near her shoulder. Clara froze. But Roman did not. He stopped halfway down the aisle. Not because he was afraid for himself, Because Clara felt Evan's hand shaking, Roman's voice was quiet. "Take your hand off her." Evan laughed wildly. "You won't shoot. Not with her this close." Roman's eyes did not leave Clara slash. "No," he said. "I want it." Morelli smiled. "Love has made you predictable." Roman's gaze slid to him. "No. Love has made me patient." The word love cracked through Clara's chest. Evan heard it too. His grip tightened. Clara remembered Roman shielding her at the clinic. Roman stopping himself from touching her. Roman kneeling in front of her with water in his hand. Telling her not to trust him too easily. She made a decision. Her heel came down hard on Evan's foot. At the same time, she drove her elbow back. Evan shouted. Roman moved. The church erupted. Clara fell to the side as Roman reached her, pulling her behind a stone pillar with one arm. Gunfire shattered glass overhead. Men shouted. Morelli's guards scattered through the pews. Roman covered Clara with his body, but she grabbed his face with both hands. "Duval," she said. Roman looked toward the altar. Mara was already there, cutting the old man free. Evan stumbled toward the side door. Clara saw the recorder light under her dress still blinking. Morelli did too. His face changed. "You recorded this." Clara stood behind Roman, one hand over her stomach. "My father taught me to keep copies." Morelli raised his gun. Roman fired first. The shot struck Morelli's hand, sending the weapon spinning across the floor. Not dead, disarmed, ruined. Roman stepped toward him. Morelli, bleeding and furious, laughed through clenched teeth. "You think evidence matters? I own judges." Roman looked at Clara. She nodded once. Outside, sirens rose. Not police bought by Morelli. Federal agents. Roman's attorney had not wasted time. Evan crawled near the side aisle, reaching for a fallen gun. Clara saw him. Roman was turned toward Morelli. For one heartbeat, Clara moved before fear could stop her. She picked up a heavy brass candle holder and slammed it down on Evan's wrist. He screamed. The gun slid away. Clara stood over him, shaking, breathless, alive. Evan looked up at her with hatred. "You ruined my life." He spat. Clara's voice did not tremble. "No, I stopped letting you ruin mine." Roman came to her side. His hand found her elbow. Gentle this time. A question. Clara leaned into it. An answer. Federal agents flooded the church. Morelli was dragged out under cameras that had been waiting beyond the gates. Evan screamed accusations until Mara handed one agent the recording from Clara's body and another the copied ledger. The scandal broke before dawn. Not Clara's scandal. Theirs. Caldwell. Morelli. Judges. Shell companies. Bribed officials. Charities used as laundering routes. Medical records stolen. Court filings falsified. And at the center of every headline was not the pregnant woman Evan had tried to humiliate. It was the evidence her father had died protecting. Clara Bennett became the daughter of a murdered whistleblower. Evan Caldwell became a criminal defendant, and Roman Valenti became something the city did not know how to name. A monster who had protected the truth. 3 days later, Clara sat in Romanesque library while snow fell outside the estate windows. The world beyond the gates was devouring the story. Lawyers called. Reporters begged. Evan's friends disappeared from social media as if they had never laughed at Bellarosa. Mr. Duval was safe. Mara was irritated that Clara had used a candle holder while pregnant. Roman had not spoken much since the church. That was the part Clara hated. He had become quieter after saying the word love. Like a man who had revealed a wound and punished himself by building walls around it, she found him on the terrace at midnight, standing in the snow without a coat. Do Mafia bosses not feel temperature? She asked. He did not turn. We do. Just dramatic. Clara smiled despite herself. She stepped beside him. Wrapped in a blanket, the Hudson glittered far below. For a while, neither spoke. Then Clara said, "You've been avoiding me." "Yes." That honesty again. Why? Roman looked out at the snow. "Because you are safe now." The words hurt more than she expected. "So you think that means you leave?" "I think it means you finally get to choose without fear." Clara turned toward him. "And you decided my choice for me by disappearing inside your own house." His mouth tightened. "I am not a good man." "Clara, I know." He looked at her then. She stepped closer. "You are dangerous. Controlling. Infuriating. You broke into my apartment to retrieve a ring." "To retrieve a ring," she repeated. "And somehow that is not even the strangest part of this story." His eyes softened at the edges. Clara's voice lowered. "But you also protected me when no one else did. You told the truth when lying would have made you look better. You stopped yourself from touching me because my choice mattered to you. You gave my father justice." Roman was very still. "That does not erase what I am." "No," she said. "It shows me what you do with it." Snow gathered in his dark hair. Clara reached up and brushed it away. This time, Roman did not move first. He let her choose the touch. His eyes closed for half a second. The sight of that restraint breaking gently, not violently, made her chest ache. "I am afraid," he said. The confession was so quiet the snow almost took it. Clara's hand stilled against his cheek. "Of what?" His eyes opened. "Of wanting a life I have no right to stand inside." Clara looked down at her stomach, then back at him. "You stood between us and bullets. That is easier than breakfast. Easier than bedtime stories. Easier than being trusted by a child who should never have to learn what my name means. My child will learn what I teach them. And what will you teach them about me?" Clara's throat tightened. "That you were the first man who never called them a mistake." Roman's control fractured. Just slightly. Just enough. His hand lifted to her face, stopping a breath away. Clara leaned into his palm. His touch was warm, careful, reverent in a way that did not belong to men like him, and yet somehow belonged completely to this moment. He bowed his head until his forehead touched hers. No kiss. Not yet. Just breath. Snow. Silence. And the terrifying beginning of trust. 2 months later, Evan Caldwell pleaded guilty in federal court after his own fiancée turned over additional evidence to save herself. Salvatore Morelli's empire cracked in public. Roman's enemies grew quieter. Clara moved out of the Valenti estate the same week. Roman did not stop her. That nearly broke them both. She rented a small townhouse with better locks, better light, and a nursery painted soft green. Roman sent no flowers, no jewelry, no dramatic gifts, only a security system installed by a company with no Valenti name attached. And once a week, groceries appeared on her porch. Always practical things. Milk, ginger tea, oranges, prenatal vitamins. Never a note. After the 3rd week, Clara opened the door before the delivery man could leave. Roman stood there instead. Black coat, tired eyes, snow on his shoulders. In one hand, he held a paper bag. In the other, a tiny stuffed bird. Clara looked at it. "What is that? A bird?" "I can see that." For the cathedral heartbeat, her heart folded in on itself. She stepped aside. Roman entered her townhouse like a man entering a church he was afraid to damage. He looked at the nursery from the doorway, not crossing the threshold until she nodded. The crib was half-built. Clara pointed to it. "Do you know how to assemble furniture?" Roman removed his gloves. "I dismantle organizations. That wasn't the question. No. Good. We'll learn. For the next hour, Roman Valenti sat on the nursery floor with his sleeves rolled up, reading instructions with the same intensity he probably gave assassination reports. Clara laughed when he installed one piece backward. He looked offended. The sound of her laughter startled them both. It filled the room with something neither of them knew how to handle. Hope. Ladder. As the crib stood mostly straight, Clara sat in the rocking chair, one hand on her stomach. Roman knelt to tighten the last screw. The baby kicked. Clara gasped softly. Roman looked up instantly. What? She kicked? The word hung between them. She. Roman's face changed. Clara had not meant to tell him that way. But there it was. A daughter. Roman stared at her stomach like the universe had placed a loaded gun and a miracle in the same room. Clara smiled faintly. Do you want to feel? The question stopped his breathing. He looked at her face first. Not her stomach. Her face. Making sure. Clara nodded. Roman moved slowly, as if any sudden motion might scare the moment away. He placed his hand over the curve of her stomach, warm and impossibly gentle. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then the baby kicked beneath his palm. Roman went utterly still. Clara watched emotion move through him with nowhere to hide. Wonder, fear, devotion. A grief for the man he thought he could never become. His voice was rough. She's strong. Clara's eyes burned. She has to be. Roman looked up at her. No, he said. She gets to be safe. That was the moment Clara kissed him. Not because the danger was over, not because he had saved her, because he had finally understood the difference between protection and peace. The kiss was slow, restrained, and devastating. Roman did not take. He waited. Clara felt the control in him. The hunger locked behind honor. The dangerous man choosing gentleness because she deserved nothing less. When she pulled back, his eyes were darker than before. Clara, he whispered. Yes, if I kiss you again, I will not know how to forget it. She touched his face. Then don't to you. Spring came late that year. By the time Clara went into labor, the city had changed around them. Evan was awaiting sentencing. Morelli's trial had begun. Clara's father's name had been cleared in every paper that once ignored his death. Roman arrived at the hospital before the second contraction ended. No entourage this time. No black SUVs blocking the world. Just him, pale with terror, holding the overnight bag Clara had forgotten by the door. Mara arrived 5 minutes later and told him he looked like a haunted statue. Clara laughed, then cursed through another contraction. Roman stayed beside her through every hour. He did not command, did not threaten, did not turn pain into drama. He held her hand when she asked, let go when she needed, wiped her forehead with a tenderness that made the nurse glance twice. And when Clara finally heard her daughter cry, the sound split the world open. The baby was placed against her chest, tiny and furious and perfect. Clara sobbed. Roman stood beside the bed, one hand over his mouth, eyes wet in a way no enemy would ever live to describe. She's here, Clara whispered. Roman nodded, but no sound came. The nurse smiled. Does she have a name? Clara looked at Roman. They had argued about this for weeks. Roman had insisted the baby did not need his name to be protected. Clara had insisted names could be chosen out of love, not fear. Now, holding her daughter, Clara knew. Evelyn Rose, Bennett Valenti, she said. Roman closed his eyes. When he opened them, the feared boss of Manhattan looked undone. Clara, she has my father's courage. Clara whispered. My mother, S. Lockett. And your name. Not because you claimed her first, She reached for his hand. Because you earned the right to stay. Roman sat carefully on the edge of the bed. The baby quieted at the sound of his voice before he even spoke. He touched one tiny fist with the back of his finger. Hello, Evelyn, he said, voice breaking almost invisibly. You terrified me before we met. Clara laughed through tears. Roman looked at her then. In that hospital room, full of soft morning light, he was still dangerous, still feared, still a man with shadows behind him and blood in his history. But he was also the man who had placed a coat over Clara's shoulders when the world laughed. The man who had turned a public wound into a shield. The man who had learned that love was not possession. It was staying without stealing, protecting without owning, wanting without taking. 3 weeks later, Bella Rosa reopened after renovations. Clara did not want to go back. Roman did not ask her to, but when the owner sent a private apology and asked if she would allow them to host a charity dinner in her father's name, Clara said yes. Not for the restaurant, for the girl she had been that night, the one frozen beside a table while people whispered. She returned wearing a deep emerald dress, her daughter sleeping safely at home with Mara, and Roman beside her in black. This time, no one laughed. Guests stood when she entered. Some out of respect, and some out of fear. Clara accepted both. At the center table, the same one where Evan had thrown cash at her, there was no folder now. Only a framed photograph of her father and a small silver plaque announcing the Bennett Foundation for Witness Protection and Family Advocacy. Roman stood behind Clara as she looked at it. You did this, she asked. No, he said. You did. She glanced at him. He added, I paid for it. Clara smiled. Of course you did. A waiter approached nervously with champagne, then remembered and offered sparkling water instead. Clara took it. Across the room, cameras waited outside the glass. But they were no longer predators. They were witnesses. Roman leaned close, his voice low enough for only her. Are you all right? Clara looked around the restaurant. She saw the table, the marble floor, the place where shame had almost swallowed her. Then she saw Roman's coat over the back of her chair, waiting in case she got cold. I am now, she said. He held out his hand. This time, she took it. Not because she needed rescuing, because she had chosen who was allowed to stand beside her after the rescue ended. Roman brought her hand to his lips, not caring who watched. The room went silent again, but this silence was different. No cruelty, no judgment, only the sound of a woman reclaiming the place where she had once been broken, and a dangerous man bowing before the family he never believed he deserved. Outside, Manhattan glittered in the night. Inside, Clara Bennett stood beneath golden light with Roman Valenti's hand wrapped around hers. No longer hidden, no longer ashamed, no longer alone. And somewhere miles away, in a nursery guarded not by fear but by love, Evelyn Rose Bennett Valenti slept peacefully beneath a tiny stuffed bird. The child, Evan had said, had no father. The child Roman had claimed before he knew how deeply he would love her. The child who had not been born into scandal after all, but into a story powerful enough to make even the darkest men believe redemption could have a heartbeat.